Now, my title for tonight's message is There is No Fear in Love. Now, the thing is this is something that we've read over and over and over again. For years I've read this scripture, but it never really hit me. It hit me about 4 or 5 days ago. Wait a minute. There is no fear in love. But the problem is there are two domains that happen in our earthly lives. There is the domain of faith and there's fear. So the whole of society works by fear, doesn't it? Yeah. I mean, that's what we've been experiencing before we started this message even. We had to deal with the problem of fear because there is a fear of something. And I have these fears too. Tomorrow I have this procedure that's going to start. So I don't know, they're going to start poking about me and doing whatever they do, I don't know what waits me. I'm not particularly scared, but there's a bit of apprehension, but it's not the same as yours, mind you, not at all. I don't mean to compare it. Okay, so let's start with 1 John 4:18, okay?
Yes. There is no fear in love, but perfect love casts out fear, because fear involves torment. But he who fears has not been made perfect in love.
He who fears has not been made perfect. Now, notice he says pure love isn't with fear, okay? Now, love, I'm gonna describe it like this. Love is this beautiful big jewel with all kinds of facets to them, well cut, well shined, and it's also every facet is as beautiful as the next. Its beauty is everywhere. Think of the most beautiful kaleidoscope you've ever seen. Every side is beautiful. Now, fear also has many facets, but all those sides are ugly and unattractive. Fear is an ugly thing. Pure love is the most beautiful thing that we have, which is why God even says, I am love. I am called love. My identity is love. But the problem is when we get these two words, love and fear, there are so many societal connotations and spins to them that we don't get a good look at what pure love is. Or and fear, notice they don't tackle it very much because they kind of want you to be in fear. The first thing is the love of God is the most important thing in life. Now, the love of people is really important too, because our love for people is kind of a mirror image of our love for God. That's why later on in the Epistle of John, he says, well, the one who hates his brother can't say that he loves. You see, he's lying. He's not telling the truth if he say he loves and then he hates his brother. Okay, so the love of people and love of God kind of go hand in hand. Now, the type of love that human beings on this earth and in society do is not necessarily what we want to emulate. We talk about the love of money or things or like sex appeal and things like that. Well, we know now that's not love. That's kind of desire, that's lust, that's covetousness, all right? Now, the fear of God, which is something that should be desired above all else. I'll do this reading. I forgot to tell it to you. It's Proverbs 1, verse 7, but I'll do it because I'm already there. I got these little bookmarks. It says, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. Fools despise wisdom and instruction. So basically, if you don't have a fear of the Lord, you don't have wisdom. You can't be wise without it. Now, the fear of the Lord is a different thing altogether than being afraid. Being afraid is sometimes a very positive sentiment or emotion because it protects us. If somebody is breaking into our house with evil intent, we should be afraid, and we should because that is our survival emotion. God put that in there so that we didn't just get killed unnecessarily if we can fight it off. So that kind of fear is good fear. Apprehension of someone who you believe is not being perfectly honest with you. This is also a good thing. It's not negative. But fear of the future without anything physical or tangible in front of you, that's where the problem is, isn't it? because that is kind of invented fear. Now, granted, there may be things that are happening in your life that will feed that fear. I got that. Like if you have financial worries, you don't think you've got enough, well, this is a problem. I mean, and it's not necessarily a bad fear because it shows that you have a problem to solve. However, if you dwell on it and you keep in the what ifs for too long, it'll destroy you. It'll actually hurt you.
Very draining.
Oh my goodness, those emotions are terrible. So another thing is fearing events like events that are out of our control, weather, car crashes, health problems, all sorts of things. If they haven't happened and there's no inkling of them happening, and yet you're fearful of them happening, okay, that's a problem, isn't it? That would be something where you're kind of inventing the fears. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I've done that. Have you?
Well, it's a form of safeguarding, isn't it? Because you think, if I think about the worst that could happen, then it won't get that bad. That's how we think. I was thinking about this only today, funny enough.
So that would be the glass half full.
No, it's like a protective mechanism that we do.
Okay.
We think of the worst possible thing, because we don't want to be caught unawares.
Okay.
And then anything that happens that isn't the worst possible thing, so we worry about the worst thing, and then anything that happens that isn't the worst thing is good.
Yeah. No, that's good, because as a teacher, I understand that very well. When someone proposes something to me, I have my teacher hat on, and I think of what are the 10 reasons why I shouldn't do this. And if I can answer all of those questions in the affirmatively, then I will take the course of action. You see, but I always look at where the problems drives Judy nuts, because she says, "Why can't you just do it?" I said, "Well, no, I'm a teacher. I can't just do it." So. Now, let's go to Luke 23.
So you mean you look at it from all the aspects before you...
What could... Yeah. It's almost like... I hate to be cynical, but it's Murphy's Law. What can go wrong will go wrong.
Yeah. No, I'm like that too.
I'm sorry, I'm just a bit like that. Now, it's not cynical...
Well, you know why, though? Because as a teacher, we're responsible. We're the pinnacle of the responsibility. There's no one else that's going to take the hit for us. We're the ones that... are not in trouble, but you know what I mean?
Well, yeah, and that's why we have
that's why we have to think about it all.
Well, we have deeply ingrained in us the idea of the risk assessment.
Yes.
I don't know how many times.
We're responsible.
Yeah, I've had to fill out risk assessment forms when I'm doing stuff with
you know, if someone's stupid and they injure themselves, it's my problem.
Yeah. Okay, let's go Luke 23, verses 39 to 43. Anybody there?
Then one of the criminals who were hanged blasphemed him, saying, "If you are the Christ, save yourself and us." But the other answering rebuked him, saying, "Do you not even fear God, seeing you are under the same condemnation? And we indeed justly, for we receive the due reward of our deeds. But this man has done nothing wrong." Then he said to Jesus, "Lord, remember me when you come into your kingdom." And Jesus said to him, "Assuredly I say to you, today you will be with me in paradise."
Okay, isn't that a beautiful bit of scripture?
Isn't it?
I really love it. Now, what I was seeing when I was preparing this is there's 3 men. All 3 of them are dying. They're in mortal pain. The one in the center is love itself, love himself. The one at the left, let's say, is the one criminal that is shouting at Jesus, "Get us down from the cross, get us out of here. I don't like this. If you're the Son of God, get us off. Come on, use your brain." And the other is saying, "Wait a minute, don't you even fear God? Because we're here because we deserve to be here." But this man, he's done nothing. Then he turns to Jesus, and you can see him turning from the fear dynamic into the faith dynamic. And he just says, "Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom."
He doesn't even ask to go to paradise.
That's true.
He doesn't ask. He just says, "Remember me."
Yeah. So you have one that's full in faith, the other that's coming to faith.
Imagine that is even an outside chance.
Yeah.
Because he knew what he did.
And then you have the one who's hard-hearted. What is the character of the one who's hard-hearted? He's only thinking of himself. He doesn't see beyond himself. Whereas the man on the other side is looking at Jesus, and it's causing him to reflect on his life, and he sees this man who has this divine something that he doesn't understand, but he knows that this is a righteous man and as righteous gets. So the one man is moving into the faith dynamic. The one is
without expectation.
Without expectation. So I found that this was really, really good, because the person who asked Jesus to remember him, he kind of lost his fear. And the person who was hard-hearted held on to his fear. He was afraid of dying, afraid of everything, afraid, and he was even kind of frantic, wasn't he? Get me off this cross! And the other was just quietly, this man's done nothing wrong. And he has, not only does he say this man has done nothing wrong, he also sees that he has done something wrong. Not only something wrong, but his whole life has probably been a series of wrongdoings. You see, but the other one doesn't even want to look at that. Doesn't want to look at what his true self is. He just wants out of the situation. Now, I have known many people that seemingly came to Christ, but they only really wanted to get out of the situation they were in. And once they got out of the situation they were in, they were fair weather friends, and they flipped it off. Oh, they still had their faith, and every once in a while they'd still go to church and whatnot, but they weren't really part of the body. They only wanted what they wanted. The man who was railing at Jesus only wanted what he wanted. Where the man who said, just remember me, he understood. Finally, he understood. So, I have found that when it says that there is no fear in love, you know how you have in, in Galatians 5, the gifts of the Spirit and the fruits of the Spirit and the fruits of the flesh? You have that great passage, the fruit of the Spirit is peaceable, loving, and all that. You have 9 of them, I think, okay? But you have before that a huge railing on here is all of the fruits of the flesh, and it's one horror after another. I have this revelation that every single one of those negatives is fear-based. All of them. Okay? Now, I have to develop this a little more in my mind. I just got this revelation a few days ago, so I haven't completely unpacked it myself, but I really feel I'm onto something here. So let's go. By the way, all 4 Gospels note that Jesus had these criminals crucified on his right and left, but only Luke's Gospel records the last conversations of the 3. Okay? Now that means something to me, because what was Mark? Mark was a Roman. What was Matthew? Matthew was a tax collector. What was John? John was a fisherman. And what was Luke? He was a doctor. And all through Luke, you can see a great deal of compassion. This is why you see many more healings in the Gospel of Luke than you'll see in Matthew, Mark, and John, okay? And this is why he'll make note of many miraculous things also in the Acts of the Apostles. Not only did they actually happen, okay, but still, this is something that touches his doctor's heart. There's some doctors that are marvelous doctors. Absolutely marvelous people. I mean, just just like teachers. There are some teachers that are just marvelous people. I have had such a blessing in my personal life, having some of the greatest human beings for teachers that God could put on this earth. I have had some absolutely monumental people teaching me. And truly, when I get up to Jesus, not if I ever get up, I'm going up. So I almost said if I ever get up there, that's wrong. I will have no excuse, because God sent his best. He really has.
Yes.
Okay. Now let's go 1 Corinthians 13 verses 1 to 7. We'll go verse 1 to 3 first.
If I speak in the tongues of men or of angels, but do not have love, I am only a resounding gong or a clanging cymbal. If I have the gift of prophecy and can fathom all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have a faith that can move mountains, but do not have love, I am nothing. If I give all I possess to the poor, and give over my body to hardship, that I may boast, but have not love, I gain nothing.
Okay, so I'm gonna paraphrase all of this. The first one, love isn't showy. It's not loud. Okay, now it's been my impression that some people that are boisterously loud a lot and they always make a show of themselves, expressly make a show of themselves. They're very insecure people. They want people to they want adoration. They want people to adore them. So is that not fear-based? Really? Then you have love has nothing to do with who you know or who you are able to know. We've all met the name droppers, haven't we? Mm-hmm. Oh, this one and that one, as if they had, lunch with the king and then meeting with the prime minister 3 hours later, and you know that they did nothing but sit alone in a coffee shop all day. You know that. But anyway, it has nothing to do with how much you're able to do. Pious philanthropy isn't necessarily love. There's some people that have huge charity accounts and have built huge things for the poor and all this. Doesn't mean they're loving. Some people really, really crave approval of people. They do. Why do they they crave approval from people? The same reason that I used to. Because I grew up with no one ever appreciating me at all, and I was always looking for other people to define, what my value was. So I always wanted to please people and put on a good show so that they would think I was worth something.
Yeah.
And that's just personally me. Now, verse 4.
Love is patient. Love is kind. Love does not envy. It does not boast. It is not proud.
Okay, now I want to take 3 of those ideas because he's going to tell us what love is and what love isn't. Okay, so what love is not, it's not jealous. Now, is there not fear in jealousy? Is there not fear in boastfulness? Is there not fear in arrogance? Arrogant people are the most insecure people on the earth. They pump themselves up, and they put a kind of a wall around themselves. You see, and why do they do that? Because they're afraid you might learn who they really are. You might learn what their reality is. So now let's backtrack just a moment. Perfect love casts out fear. Perfect love has no fear in it. It can't, because fear, like he said, involves punishment. Unfortunate that they translated it like that, because punishment, it involves retribution more like. Retribution is not the same thing as punishment. Retribution is like consequences of what you do. Punishment is like a sentence of something as a result of what you do. You see, a condemnation. So, anyway, let's go for verse 5. Yeah.
It does not dishonor others. It is not self-seeking. It is not easily angered. And it keeps no record of wrongs.
Okay. I've known many people who have little lists, and you don't want to tell them too much because they're not saying anything, but they've mentally put it in their little portfolio. They put it in their little notebook. If this person ever hacks me off, I got ammunition. I've had people just come out of the blue. I thought they were friends for years, and then they've come through with this type of attitude where they've made a list of my miscreances. And I thought, yeah, you never were a friend, were you? And then another one is there's the person. Now I know that I'm kind of being on a negative kick here, but I think we need to see what love is not in order to see what love is. Because this world is very deceptive in making us think love is something that it's not. Okay? So the one who is looking for like-mindedness, he wants you to agree with him. And even sometimes I've had conversations with someone and walked away and I thought, why the blazes did I agree with them? I didn't agree with them at all. But I kind of went along with it without saying anything. Why did I do that? And I get kind of cross with myself because I think, well, that's just a hypocrite, isn't it?
But we do it
I have done it,
You know,
yes.
there have been a number of times when, for example, you don't agree with something or other, and you will make a comment along the lines of, "That was a rubbish movie. Do you not agree?"
Oh, yeah, I know.
And he does it without even thinking. You know?
Yeah.
And I do think that we do get into the habit of expecting compliance from people around us without actually considering the fact that that person may have an opinion of their own.
Yeah, you know, I've learned to kind of, with some things, play my cards a little close to my chest. I'll never forget once, this is a comical thing between Judy and myself. We were in IKEA, and I was looking at a certain table, and I was thinking in my mind, oh, I like that little table, that's quite cute. But I thought, I better not say anything. And then Judy looks at it, she goes, look at that monstrosity. Isn't that the ugliest thing you ever saw? I went, oh God, I'm glad I just kept my mouth shut. So anyway, that's just, it's a husband-wife thing, I think. Anyway, so, also, people who are short-fused, who have a short fuse, and they're not nice to be around, are they?
No.
Because you never know what's going to set them off. So,
I'll tell you another one is when you know someone just is, they haven't said like, I don't like that, I don't agree with that, or I don't want to do that, but they store it all up, and you know that there's something nasty coming your way at some point in the future, but you don't know when.
Yeah. It's like
It takes you a long time to realise that.
like a fuse, it's continually burning. Yeah. Okay, verse 6.
Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth.
Other versions say this differently, so I paraphrased it. Love hates lies, but loves truth. Okay. Other versions say it slightly different than that, so I took it to be lies. I hate deception, basically. Verse 7.
It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres.
Okay, now obviously that's a funny kind of a phrase because believes all things. He doesn't mean you're supposed to believe everything. That's not what he means. He means with regards to the love of God, believe everything that he says. In his word, believe what he says. Obviously, he's not saying, well, all of humanity just believe what they say or believe that what they do is good. That would be, that is definitely not what he's saying, is it?
No.
It's really pointedly believe what is believable. You see, believe what is truth. That's why I think verse 6 kicks on to verse 7 in an excellent way, because it loves truth and then believe all things that are of the truth. See, the two are chained together, but unfortunately they cut the verses apart there, you see. So notice in a conclusion of this, every negative thing in love that isn't, you can trace it back to fear in some form. Which is why the Bible says in so many places, don't fear, don't be afraid, because I am watching after you. I am looking after you, Judy, yes?
In fact, we were talking to a young lady this morning, and she said that it is recorded that the phrase, do not fear, appears in the Bible 365 times. One for every day of the year.
Apparently so.
I've never counted it myself, so I can't verify it, but I have heard this, and that wasn't the first time I've heard it. But God is very serious about the fact that we shouldn't fear.
Remind yourself that God told Cain before he killed his brother, he said, sin is lurking at the door, waiting, trying to get to you, but you must master it. So mastering the fear means we look it straight in the face. And I am absolutely convinced that I am not going to miss a meal until I go to the coffin. I'm absolutely convinced that the people who love me will continue to love me. I'm convinced that there will always be a roof over my head. But the problem is society wants you afraid of consequences that they even hang above your head.
That's what insurance is all about.
Oh, yeah.
What if? You know,
Yeah.
and they make us, and they've actually made it mandatory that you have to spend humongous amounts of money over your lifetime on what if.
Yeah.
And it's